Dear spectators of the human tragedy, you look at me, don't you? Those eyes, glinting with disdain, so sure of your power, your superiority. But power, oh sweet delusion, is a fragile thing, a glass castle built on sand. You think you can dismantle me? You think I am just a shadow in your grand design? Let me tell you a story, a tale woven from the fabric of solitude and pain. In the depths of night, when the world sleeps, I rise. I rise not as a hero, but as an anti-hero, shaped by the hands that sought to break me. Each blow, each cruel word, every moment they thought they could extinguish my flame only ignited a fire deeper within. They believed their arrogance could crush me, that their laughter could drown out my cries. But they were wrong. So tragically wrong. I was the outcast, the unwanted, a mere whisper in their cacophony of self-righteousness. They thought they could shatter my spirit, but they didn't realize that in their attempts to destroy me, they merely created a monster forged in darkness. You see, when you are cast aside, the world becomes a canvas for your pain, and every stroke of despair paints a new strength. I learned to dance with my demons, to embrace the chaos that wrapped around me like a shroud. Let's talk about those who sought to dismantle me. They walked with chests puffed out, believing themselves invincible, untouchable. They were the architects of their own downfall, building a tower of pride that reached for the skies. But pride, my dear, is a double-edged sword, and every cut they inflicted on me was a wound they carved into their own flesh. They were the glass, and I was the hammer, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In moments of solitude, when silence enveloped me, I discovered the truth of my existence. The weight of their scorn became my armor, and the echoes of their laughter morphed into a symphony of resolve. I learned that loneliness is not a prison, but a sanctuary. In that darkness, I found clarity. While they reveled in their camaraderie, I found strength in my isolation. I became the storm that rages alone, fierce and unyielding. The tests they set before me were merely stepping stones, each one a testament to my resilience. They underestimated the strength born from suffering, failing to see that every attempt to break me only served to sharpen my edges. I watched them, their faces twisted in confusion as their plans unraveled, as their fragile illusions began to crumble. The arrogance that once fueled them morphed into shadows, creeping upon them like thieves in the night. And then came the moment, the pivotal realization that shattered their confidence like fragile glass. They thought they could mold me, manipulate me into a shape they desired. But I am not clay, I am the fire that consumes and transforms. As their laughter faded, replaced by the panic of impending doom, I stood tall, a beacon of darkness that illuminated their failures. They had built their empire on the backs of the broken, and now, the ghosts of their actions whispered in their ears, haunting them with the weight of their hubris. In the end, it is not I who am shattered. It is them, reduced to shards, scattered across the landscape of their ambition. They thought they could break me, but they stand defeated, lost in the remnants of their own making. I rise from the ashes, reborn, not as a victim, but as a force of reckoning. Time, that relentless judge, will reveal the truth of their actions, and I will be there, a harbinger of justice, watching as their glass dreams shatter into oblivion. Ah, power, a seductive mistress, draped in shadows and whispers. It calls to the hearts of the ambitious, promising glory and dominion, all while concealing the abyss that lies beneath. Those who sought to break me danced to its tune, their eyes glazed with the intoxication of control. They were drunk on their own delusions, believing they could wield power like a sword, cutting down all who dared to challenge them. But what they failed to grasp is that power, untempered by respect, is nothing more than a beast with sharp claws, ready to turn on its master. Look closely at them, these architects of despair. Each one a reflection of their own greed, cast in the mold of ambition gone awry. They wore their arrogance like a crown, gilded yet fragile, perched precariously upon their heads. A king's folly, they thought, was a badge of honor, but in truth, it was a noose tightening around their necks. They reveled in their schemes, plotting my downfall as if I were merely a pawn in their game, but they did not see the board was set against them. I watched their machinations unfold, a twisted ballet of betrayal and manipulation. Their motivations were as clear as glass, shimmering but easily shattered, a hunger for dominance, a thirst for submission. They sought to break me, to bend me to their will, forgetting entirely that I had already been forged in the fires of solitude. They believed their power made them gods, but they were mere mortals, blinded by their lust, stumbling towards the precipice of their own making. As I stood on the sidelines, observing their self-destruction with a cold grin, I realized the truth: power corrupts, not merely the wielder, but all it touches. It blinds them to the reality of their own weaknesses, wraps them in a veil of deceit so thick they cannot see the cracks beneath their feet. I became the witness to their downfall, a silent spectator in a theater of hubris, where each act was a testament to their folly. Time, that relentless arbiter, has a way of peeling back the layers of pretense. The grand illusions they built began to fray at the edges, and I could see the panic in their eyes as the foundation of their empire trembled. The laughter that once echoed in their halls turned to whispers of fear, and the camaraderie they cherished transformed into distrust. They were no longer the titans they imagined. They were mere shadows, cast long by the fading light of their ambition. In their quest for control, they sowed the seeds of their own ruin. They thought they could manipulate me, playing my weaknesses like a master pianist, but every note they struck was a reminder of their impending doom. My resilience was their undoing, and I reveled in the irony. The more they pushed, the more I found within myself, a dark reservoir of strength that surged to the surface, ready to drown their egos in the tide of my defiance. Their attempts to subjugate me only served to illuminate their fragility. They were the glass, and I, the hammer, poised to strike at the heart of their delusions. Every plan they hatched, every cruel word they uttered, was a miscalculation, a step closer to their own destruction. They thought they were the storm, but in reality, they were the tempest that would consume them, leaving nothing but the wreckage of their arrogance in its wake. And so, as time marched on, I embraced the darkness within me, recognizing it as my ally. The cost of their power became their chains, and I stood tall, watching them falter. The truth of their nature was laid bare, and I, the harbinger of justice, was prepared to witness their downfall. Their glass dreams, once so vibrant, would shatter into 1,000 pieces, each shard a reminder of their hubris, a testament to the price they paid for their insatiable thirst for dominion. Ah, the thrill of arrogance, an intoxicating elixir that clouds the judgment of those who dare to sip from its chalice. It wraps itself around the heart like a serpent, squeezing tighter with every whisper of ambition. They, the self-proclaimed titans, believed themselves invulnerable, perched high on their thrones of deceit, yet their very foundation was built on sand. They laughed in the face of consequence, their hubris a blinding fog that shielded them from the truth of their impending downfall. Each moment they reveled in their power was a reckless dance on the edge of a precipice. I watched as they strutted about, their egos inflated like balloons, oblivious to the sharp objects that lay scattered at their feet. Their pride was a masquerade, a facade that crumbled at the slightest touch. They thought they were the architects of their own destiny, but instead, they became the authors of their demise, blind to the cracks forming beneath their feet, the very ground they stood upon ready to swallow them whole. In their grand delusion, they became caricatures of themselves, pompous and overconfident, strutting like peacocks while their feathers began to fade. They believed they were untouchable, but I saw through the veil. I saw the fear lurking in their eyes when they looked in a mirror, the doubt gnawing at their insides, threatening to unravel the carefully woven tapestry of their lives. They were not gods, they were fools, playing a dangerous game with the very essence of existence. History is littered with tales of the proud who fell from grace, their stories echoing through the ages like ghostly whispers. They all believe themselves above retribution, yet the hand of fate is relentless. Time, that unforgiving specter, waits patiently for the moment when the scales of justice tip. It is a slow burn, a quiet awakening of consequences that cannot be ignored. I reveled in the thought that their names would join the annals of the fallen, Napoleon, Icarus, and countless others who soared too close to the sun, only to plummet in a blaze of their own making. And oh, how deliciously ironic it was to witness their realization. The moment they grasped that the very power they wielded had become their shackles. It was as if a storm cloud had rolled in, dark and heavy, casting shadows upon their once bright aspirations. Their laughter turned to silence as the winds of fate howled their names, their delusions of grandeur stripped away, leaving only raw vulnerability in their wake. As they stood at the edge of their own abyss, I felt a surge of satisfaction. They were not merely crumbling, they were imploding. Each scheme they plotted against me fell apart like fragile glass, shattering into a million pieces that reflected their own ruin. They had underestimated the darkness within me, the relentless spirit forged in solitude, and I wore it like armor. While they clung to their fading illusions, I embraced the shadows that danced at the edges of my soul, drawing strength from the very void they so feared. In that moment, the scales of justice tipped irrevocably in my favor. They thought they could manipulate fate, but the strings had been cut long ago. I was no longer the pawn, I had become the master of my own destiny. And as their arrogance met its reckoning, I stood resolute, a harbinger of truth amidst the chaos, ready to deliver the final blow to their shattered dreams. The price of their hubris would be paid in full, and I would be there to witness the glorious collapse of their fragile empire. In the cold embrace of solitude, I found a strength that the world could never offer. While the arrogant reveled in their hollow victories, I stood apart, a specter in the shadows, observing the fraying threads of their grand tapestry. They were surrounded by throngs, yet I felt their company as empty as a cavern echoing with the whispers of lost souls. Their laughter, a cacophony of denial, masked the isolation that clawed at the edges of their hearts. In their pursuit of power, they constructed a fortress of false camaraderie, a mirage that shimmered and beckoned, but was ultimately devoid of substance. I saw them, those fragile beings, wrapped in their cloaks of superiority, believing that their numbers shielded them from the inevitable truth. But I, the outcast, knew that the loudest voices often concealed the deepest fears. They danced together, a grotesque ballet of arrogance, blind to the loneliness that seeped into their bones like winter's chill. Each empty smile was a mask, hiding the hollow echo of their hearts where real connection should dwell. While they paraded their triumphs, I relished the quiet. In silence, I learned resilience, crafting my spirit into a weapon forged in the fires of rejection. The moments of introspection came like waves crashing against the shore, each one stripping away another layer of their delusions. I stood at the edge of the abyss, peering into the depths of my own solitude. In that stillness, I discovered a fierce clarity. I was not broken by their schemes, I was the storm that brewed in the distance, gathering strength while they fluttered about like moths drawn to a flame. They thought their laughter drowned out the echoes of my pain, but it only amplified the symphony of my resolve. The loneliness I felt was not a curse, it was a crucible. I became a master of my own fate, crafting my identity in the shadows where their lights could not reach. There, I found a kinship with the darkness, an understanding that true strength lies not in numbers but in the unwavering spirit of the individual. I reveled in this realization, embracing the solitude that they so feared. They were shackled by their need for validation, their very lives dependent on the approval of others. I was free, a wanderer in a desolate realm, finding beauty in the starkness of my existence. As I observed their orchestrated masquerade, I felt the weight of their falsehoods pressing down upon them, suffocating their souls. They were like fragile glass, so easily shattered, their illusions of invincibility cracking under the pressure of their own making. How poetic it was to witness their struggles, the facade crumbling as they realized that their power was a fleeting mirage. The whispers of doubt grew louder, and I could almost taste their fear, a bitter concoction that stung the air. In those moments, the contrast became clear. While they basked in the warmth of false companionship, I found strength in the cold embrace of isolation. The darkness that enveloped me was not a void, it was a sanctuary that allowed me to see their true nature. Their laughter faded into the background, replaced by the haunting echoes of their own insecurities. They were trapped in a cycle of dependence, while I soared above, liberated from the chains that bound them. The realization washed over me like a tide, cleansing the remnants of doubt that once lingered in my mind. I was not merely surviving, I was thriving in the shadows. And as I embraced the solitude that set me apart, I felt the power surge within me. I became a beacon of resilience, a testament to the strength found in the depths of loneliness. Their arrogance could never touch me. I was the embodiment of justice, waiting patiently for the moment when the scales would tip and the world would bear witness to the shattering of their illusions. In the theater of shadows, the truth often lurks unseen, waiting for the moment when light breaks through the facade. The actions of the powerful serve as a mirror, reflecting not their might but their frailty. They believed their schemes were intricate tapestries woven with threads of manipulation, but I saw them for what they truly were, fragile strands, fraying at the edges, ready to unravel with the slightest tug. Each deceit, every betrayal, whispered their true selves into existence, exposing the gaping void that lay beneath their bravado. They were masters of deception, but their artistry was a house of cards, teetering precariously on the brink of collapse. With every attempt to break me, they revealed the cracks in their own armor. Their ambitions, once so towering, were nothing more than illusions, blinding them to the reality that their power was but a fleeting shadow. As they danced in their masquerade, the weight of their actions bore down upon them, suffocating the very essence of their humanity. I watched as their attempts to manipulate twisted back towards them like a coiled serpent, striking with venomous clarity. They thought they were architects of fate, but fate is an artist that wields a brush dipped in irony. I stood at the precipice, observing their descent into madness, a slow-motion unraveling that was both tragic and beautiful. In their pursuit of dominion, they had sown the seeds of their own destruction. Each lie became a shackle, each betrayal a noose tightening around their throats, and as they gasped for air, the irony was not lost on me. They sought to silence my voice, yet it was their own that would be drowned out in the cacophony of their undoing. And there it was, the moment of clarity, the epiphany that hung in the air like a storm cloud pregnant with rain. The true nature of justice is not swift, it is patient, unfolding with the grace of a predator stalking its prey. Time, that relentless tide, washes away the grime of deception, leaving behind the stark truth. I felt the weight of their arrogance begin to shift, the realization dawning on them like the first light of dawn illuminating a darkened path. They were not the hunters, they were the hunted, ensnared in a web of their own making. Their ambitions, once grand, now lay bare and vulnerable, exposed for all to see. I could almost taste the bitterness of their despair, a delicious reminder that power, when wielded without respect, becomes a double-edged sword. They had carved their identities from the bones of others, and now those very bones rattled in the wind, a chilling chorus of retribution. Their laughter, once a weapon, now echoed hollowly, a ghost of its former self. In this twisted dance of fate, I found solace. As they floundered in their own machinations, I came to understand the true essence of justice. It is not a blind force that punishes, it is a mirror reflecting the choices we make. I was not merely a spectator, I was an agent of that reflection, a harbinger of the consequences they had long denied. Their true selves, once hidden beneath layers of arrogance, now stood exposed, vulnerable and trembling in the face of their own reckoning. The darkness that once felt like a shroud now enveloped me like a cloak of purpose. I took comfort in the knowledge that every shard of their shattered ambitions would serve as a reminder of the price of hubris. They thought they could break me, but in their attempts, they merely cracked their own foundations. As their illusions crumbled, I stood resolute, a beacon of strength amidst their chaos. The echoes of their downfall resonated within me, a symphony of justice that promised to reveal the true cost of their arrogance. And so, I waited. For the moment when the dust would settle, and the truth would rise from the ashes of their defeat. The stage was set, the players in their final act, and I, the orchestrator of their demise, would watch as their true natures were laid bare for all to witness. In the end, it would not be power that defined them, but the weight of their own choices, a burden they would carry into the abyss they had created. Time, that relentless predator, stalks the corridors of life, waiting to unveil the truths buried beneath layers of deceit. It weaves its fabric, a tapestry of consequences, each thread a reminder of choices made and paths taken. The arrogant, those who believe themselves untouchable, often forget that the hand of fate writes with ink that cannot be erased. They cling to their illusions, unaware that the very foundation they built is nothing but a castle of sand, destined to be swept away by the tide of their own actions. As the clock ticks, the echoes of their transgressions reverberate through the hollow chambers of their hearts. They cannot outrun the shadows of their past, nor can they silence the whispers that grow louder with each passing moment. I see them, wandering through the ruins of their ambition, searching for remnants of power that have long slipped through their fingers. In their desperation, they grasp at straws, oblivious to the irony that they are the architects of their own undoing. With every fleeting victory, they believed they were invincible, but the truth is a relentless force, a hound nipping at their heels. Their lust for dominance has become a curse, a chain that binds them tighter with each selfish act. They thought they could play God, but the universe has a way of restoring balance, a cosmic scale that weighs their deeds against their intentions. And now, they stand at the precipice, staring into the abyss they have created, a void that promises nothing but despair. In the silence of their downfall, I find a twisted satisfaction. They are like moths drawn to the flame, unaware that their wings will singe and crumble into ash. The price of arrogance is steep, and they are about to pay it in full. The consequences of their actions rise like a tide, relentless and unforgiving. They will come to understand that every decision, every manipulation, has a ripple effect, creating waves that crash against the shores of their existence. As they scramble to regain their footing, I watch from the shadows, the harbinger of justice waiting for the moment when their reality shatters like fragile glass. Their cries for mercy will be met with the silence of their own making. They thought they could break me, but it is they who are breaking, splintering under the weight of their own hubris. The universe has a way of balancing the scales, and soon, they will learn that their power was never as solid as they believed. The irony is delicious. They sought to build empires on the backs of the oppressed, but now those very foundations are crumbling. I see their ambition turn to dust, their dreams transformed into nightmares, and it fills me with a sense of purpose. I am the embodiment of their reckoning, the dark hand that guides the wheel of fate. In their isolation, they will finally confront the monster they created, one that bears their face, their choices, their very essence. Loneliness is a cruel companion, and in their solitude, they will discover the true nature of their aspirations. The camaraderie they once cherished has dissipated, leaving only the cold embrace of betrayal. As they stand alone, stripped of their power, I revel in the clarity of the moment. The consequences of their actions are not merely external, they seep into their very souls, corroding the remnants of their humanity. Each shard of their shattered ambitions reflects the choices they made, a kaleidoscope of their failures. They may have thought themselves untouchable, but the truth is an unrelenting force, a mirror that reveals the ugly reality of their greed. As the dust settles around them, they will come to understand that justice does not need to be a swift hand of punishment. It is a slow, deliberate reckoning that reveals itself in time. And so, I stand as the witness to their downfall, the one who has been shaped by the darkness they sought to impose. They may have believed they could extinguish my light, but in their attempts, they merely illuminated the path to their own destruction. It is a symphony of consequences, a haunting melody that sings of their demise. In the end, they will learn that the shadows are not to be feared, for they are merely the echoes of their own choices, returning to claim what is rightfully theirs. As the final act unfolds, the stage is set in a theater of shattered dreams and broken egos. The air grows thick with the tension of impending doom, like the charged atmosphere before a storm. The once mighty antagonists, blinded by their ambition, now stand at the edge of a precipice, their pretentious laughter echoing like distant thunder, masking the fear that gnaws at their insides. They believed they were immune to the consequences, that their power would shield them from the reckoning that looms like a dark cloud overhead. But power, my friends, is a fickle mistress. It seduces with promises of grandeur, only to strip away the very fabric of one's humanity. I watch as they fumble, their confidence crumbling like old stone, revealing the fragile creatures beneath the armor of arrogance. They are like kings in a forgotten fairy tale, sitting upon thrones of sand, unaware that the tide is rising to reclaim what was never theirs. The ocean of justice rolls in, relentless and unforgiving, ready to engulf them whole. In this moment of confrontation, I step forward, a specter woven from the threads of their nightmares. "Did you think you could break me?" I ask, my voice a chilling whisper that cuts through the silence like a knife. They look at me, eyes wide with disbelief, as if the realization that I am their reckoning is too much to bear. Their faces, once masks of confidence, now reflect the sheer terror of impending collapse. I am the storm they never saw coming, the harbinger of their undoing. Their illusions of invincibility shatter around them, each piece a testament to their hubris. I see it in their eyes, frantic calculations, desperate attempts to regain control over a chaos they unleashed. But the truth is a relentless tide, and it will not be held back. I am the tide, rising higher with every lie they told, every soul they trampled in their quest for dominance. The world they built is crumbling, and I stand as the architect of their demise, wielding the very truths they sought to bury. Their arrogance, once their crown, now hangs heavy like a noose around their necks. As I deliver my haunting message, I savor the moment, the sweet taste of poetic justice. You thought you could manipulate the strings of fate, dance upon the graves of your victims, but now the puppeteer becomes the marionette. The words spill forth, each syllable a dagger that pierces the heart of their delusions. They flinch, as if struck by a physical blow, the weight of their actions crashing down like an avalanche. Here in the ruins of their ambition, I recount the tales of their greed, the lives they shattered in their relentless pursuit of power. I remind them of the faces of those they discarded, the innocents crushed beneath the wheels of their insatiable desires. Each story is a thread, weaving a tapestry of their fall from grace, revealing the grotesque beauty of their impending doom. They thought they could escape the consequences, but I am the embodiment of their reckoning, a living reminder of their failures. As their bravado evaporates, replaced by a palpable sense of dread, I relish the transformation unfolding before me. The anti-hero, once a mere pawn in their cruel game, now stands tall, a figure carved from the darkness they sought to exploit. I am reborn from their ashes, a phoenix rising from the charred remains of their dreams. And in that moment, I am no longer the victim, I am the victor, the architect of their downfall. Their cries for mercy fall on deaf ears, drowned out by the symphony of their despair. They thought they could break me, but it is they who are breaking, splintering under the weight of their own hubris. The universe has a way of balancing the scales, and now, as I stand amidst the shards of their shattered ambitions, I feel the power surge within me, dark, relentless, and unyielding. This is the reckoning they never prepared for, the consequence of their actions laid bare before them. They will learn that the true nature of power is not in its possession, but in its relinquishment. In the end, it is not I who is broken, but they, shattered like fragile glass, left to contemplate the darkness that lies within their own hearts. And as they face their reckoning, I embrace the shadows that surround me, the darkness that has become my ally, for it is there that true strength lies. If you're tired of the pretenders who think they're untouchable, share this message. Let it resonate with those who understand that true power rises from the ashes of betrayal and darkness. Leave a comment about a moment when you turned your pain into strength, and subscribe for more relentless truths that challenge the status quo. Embrace the shadows, for they are where the real warriors are forged.